Welcome to Behind the Bookshelf podcast. Today I'm joined by Kathryn Rose. Kathryn is the author of the Metal and Lace series, a YA Arthurian legend retelling with a steampunk twist from Flux Books, and City of Lights and Skulls, a YA historical fantasy with dark academia vibes set during the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. In 2024, she founded Chateau Boho Books, an imprint for her fantasy novels. Welcome, Kathryn, and again, thank you so much for coming on here and chatting with me.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had the pleasure of reading your book, City of Lights
Thank
and
you.
Skulls. Was that your debut?
No, my debut came out in 2014. It was with Flux Books. It was Camelot Burning, which was the first in a series, a three-book series, a reimagining of Arthurian legend with a steampunk twist. So that came out about will be 12 years ago now. So I took a long hiatus, took a long time to research for City of Lights and Skulls. So that one came out last year, but there was a long break between the books.
Yeah, interesting. I had no idea. So, of course, that was my introduction into you as an author. What was your intro? Because you mentioned that you had that gap. What was your intro into writing for fiction? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey there?
Oh yeah, I would love to. So I've always been a writer. I've always really loved storytelling. My family is really big on storytelling culturally, so it was always something in my world. I will say that when I was 6 years old, I wrote an amazing story about an elephant and a lion. Fantastic. I don't really remember it, but it was one thing that really excited me. And from there were lots of activities and assignments in school that really spoke to me. When I was 14, and I'll say a shout out to teachers who do assignments this way because it's really, really cool. But I had an English teacher give us an assignment to rewrite the ending of a book that we had read that term, and I did a new ending to Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes, which was so much fun, and it really made me fall in love with writing even more. So yeah, I've always done it. I started to take it a little more seriously in my 20s. Wrote about 5 books before I wrote Camelot Burning. Um, and yeah, in all, I've probably written about 12 or so. Um, but most of them aren't for publication. Most of them are learning books and books that got me taught me a lot and got me a bit better each time.
Right. Yeah, I love hearing the origin story, and to that point,
Yeah,
like teachers, they,
yeah,
I mean, are so uh, fundamental. Or I have a similar story. My creative writing teacher, that was my introduction.
I love
So
that.
12 books, wow, yeah, and you're not stopping anytime soon. You're coming out with another book,
Yeah,
which we'll talk about later.
sure.
And to that note, I am also interested to. I know the next book that you're coming out has French influence, but reading City of Lights and Skulls,
Hmm.
it definitely has that French influence there. The Alouette, Gentle Alouette
Oh
song.
yeah.
I took 2 years of French in high school, and that brought me back. I was like, oh my God, I remember this song. So, what was where does the French influence come from?
Yeah, yeah. So I grew up in Canada. I'm from Kitchener-Waterloo, Ontario. Um, but when I was a child, I grew up on the border of Quebec and Ontario, the two provinces there. So there was a little more French influence in my early formative years. So yeah, the Alouette song is very, very nostalgic to me. But there's also the addition of having Antoine as one of the characters, and him being from Paris. And the reason that I included that in both POVs, both Clara's world and Fernando's world, I wanted to have a bit of a connection to the World Fair that had happened before Chicago, which was in Paris. So 1899 was Paris, and the Eiffel Tower debuted there. And in that World Fair, Antoine had witnessed, um, the monsters hiding in plain sight, and so he is the character that brings that story to the Chicago Fair for the characters to have an idea of what to expect. But yeah, the Alouettes, I loved. I don't remember why I named them the Alouettes, but I remember just being really delighted by them. And I thought that, a nod to my childhood song from school would be a nice touch.
Yeah, I mean, well, as you know, I think that it translates to like pretty a little bit. Like, my
Yeah,
mother's name is Lynette, and there's a lot of it's like in Louisiana, but the song is eerie. Like,
yeah.
so I
It
think that
works really
eerie,
well.
yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah,
I was looking up the translation, and I'm like, oh, okay. But
yeah.
it fits so well with the eerie
Thank you.
atmosphere. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, can you give us a brief synopsis of City of Lights and Skulls?
Yeah, so it is a young adult historical fantasy. It has dark academia vibes, and it's set, as I said, during the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. It's a dual point of view book. It follows Clara, a student at St. John's Academy for Girls, and she infiltrates the school secret society, which are the Alouettes. And they are a group on a mission to discover why girls go missing from their school. The other point of view is Fernando, who is a recent arrival to Chicago. He comes to Chicago with a debt on his head and a dark secret from his past. And he's at the fair to work, to make money. And he is assigned to the Ferris wheel attraction. And there he learns that there are monsters hiding in plain sight in the city, and they both meet each other, and together they realize they have different pieces to the same puzzle and have to work together to uncover the truth.
Yeah, it was really pleasant for me. And you said it is YA, correct?
It is YA,
Yeah.
yes.
So even though, and I'm not a reader of YA typically, but I was really, really drawn to it, the mystery aspect. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's perfect for any reader.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of
So,
fun.
so City of Lights and Schools is set in the late 1800s when electricity was being modernized. There's mention of Edison and Tesla and other historical notes being of that period. So how much historical research did you find yourself doing for this book?
Oh my goodness, so much. And and I enjoyed it. Um, I wanted when I first started drafting and researching, I wanted to do a follow-up book for the 1904 World's Fair, which was in St. Louis, and at which the X-ray was debuted. And I thought X-rays can show skulls as well. Like, that's amazing. I want to do that. But there's so much work that goes into researching a time period that is so precise, so technical, so well documented, and so recent. So it's not like choosing a fictional high fantasy world of your own creation, or a time that's so long ago that you can be liberal with any storytelling choices. It's just too recent. So there's a lot that you have to really explore. You can't. People will call you out if you try to get around any of the facts of what happened there. I did take a few creative liberties. For example, Cracker Jack wasn't named that at the time, but I wanted people to be able to identify it. Of course, the school didn't exist, but the island did. But what I ultimately found in research was that there is so much that you can work with and lean into instead of trying to shoehorn a story into something that doesn't fit. So there's so much lore. There's so much about every aspect of the World's Fair, in the corruption, in the construction of the buildings, what happened in establishing the Midway. There's so much that you can use for your story, and for each plot, that it was a joy in that sense. But yes, a lot of work, a lot of documentaries, archives, books, a lot of so interesting and so fascinating, but also, I say this in the author's note at the end of the book, dark, deeply racist, deeply classist, that we can't forget, but an incredible and unbelievable feat that they put on, really.
Yeah, I don't write historical, but I mean, I can only imagine how
Hmm.
tedious it is, how much research you have to do, and not just writing historical fiction, but writing historical fantasy. I feel like you have to toe such a fine line between being
Yeah.
historically accurate and taking the correct liberties and placing them in the appropriate spots. So, yeah,
Yes.
I feel like it was very a technical thing.
Thank you. Yeah, you're absolutely right, because you want to make sure that you're paying homage to, uh, what happened, and not trying to change history, and that's a huge danger. And as you said, towing the line between telling a story that is set there and making it fantastical and magical in a sense, but also making sure that you're respecting what happened, so that you're not misleading your reader into thinking that, oh, what you read about in history, that didn't happen, this happened. You have to really be careful with that, and it's a lot of work, but there's a duty in telling a story that way, so that you are doing the best service to the time period and the people who actually lived it.
Yeah. Have you always been like a little bit of a history buff or like interested in history?
From time to time, I think there are things that, my father was a big fan of history, so yeah, he and I would bond over that. I do find it interesting to think about, the people that lived, such different lives, and but are still connected to the present through their descendants. I mean, in terms of time periods, I mean, I was very fascinated by the medieval times. Arthurian legend came about in when I was maybe 10 years old. Like, they taught us about that, so I found that interesting enough to write about it eventually. And yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because my next book coming out is also set in the past.
Yeah, I was
Um,
going to ask you, like, because it seems like that's a
yeah,
theme. We all have our special interest, and sometimes
yeah.
somehow they always seem to bleed. Yeah.
They do. They do. It's interesting to think about what your life would be like if you had been born at a different time, and and who you would be as a person, a different person compared to who you are now. Yeah, it's very
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah, my grandpa
Very good
had
question.
this saying that I'm sure you've heard it. Like, if you don't pay attention to history, like it repeats itself.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, even though today is so different from maybe these times that we're writing or reading about,
Yeah.
there's like always something to learn, or there's definitely some value there.
Absolutely. Well, your grandfather is a very wise man. I fully believe that. It's something that the education, especially of history and throughout the world, is so important, for exactly what you said. We don't want to repeat the mistakes.
Yeah, and unfortunately, some people always will find a way to, but
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Oh, that's another conversation. So let's hop back onto the story there. So, what is
Sure.
the inspiration behind the story of A City in Lights of School, or A City of Lights and Skulls? Did it come to you in a fever dream? Was it inspired by this random thing that you saw?
Yeah, so it actually came about from an episode of, believe it or not, Downton Abbey. So there's a moment in the show when Maggie Smith's character walks inside the manor, and they had recently refitted the building with electric lights, and she's appalled. She sees them for the first time. She says they're too bright. She's like, God, they're ghastly. This will never take off. And I had never considered the idea of, oh my God, can you imagine seeing electric lights for the first time, and then suddenly needing to live in a world where there's never darkness again. You don't need to have darkness anymore. And I thought that was so interesting, and and then I had some research, did some research where I found out that, yeah, the electric light bulb, through much complicated corruption and fighting between Edison and Westinghouse, um, the light bulb debuted officially at the World's Fair, and they had this beautiful light show. There are lots of photographs online of it. It's spectacular. So I thought that was so interesting to think about, and as a metaphor to think about, something hiding in plain sight, something, corruption being revealed by the idea of progress, represented by a light bulb, which is moving us into the future where there is no darkness. I thought that there was a lot to play with there, and so I was really excited to dive into a story about that.
Oh, I love to learn that. I think I might resonate with her because I'm very much like a big light bad person. Let's turn on some ambient lighting. So I think that I would very much be a hater of the electricity. Like, bring me my candles.
Emily, you're not wrong. I mean, if I think about the ways that office buildings have, those terrible fluorescent lights, we might have done better without those.
Yeah, sometimes it's the craziest thing that will just get our minds working, and then we come up with a story like this. So I love that. So let's I want to learn more about your writing. I know everybody sometimes I learn new things. I talked to someone recently who said they listen to ASMR when they draft, which I could never. But do you have any specific? I know, right? I do listen to music, but not ASMR.
Okay.
Do you have any specific habits when it comes to your writing routine?
I've changed. So in the past, I did listen to music while I was drafting or writing, revising, whatever needed to be done. But this is going to be so weird, but I needed to listen to the same song on repeat in order to do so. So it wouldn't break me out of it wouldn't, suddenly switch to a new song that caught me off guard and, took me out of the flow. So, this is very strange. But when I was revising Camelot Burning, I listened to Instant Crush by Daft Punk and Juliana Casablancas on repeat about 1,000 times to get through the book.
Wow.
And I mean, I love the song, so it was fine, but it worked for me just to kind of keep me in the flow. The book I'm working on right now, I can't do that. I do need some white noise in the background to kind of keep me from being distracted. But there is a website. It's called brain.fm. I'm not sponsored, just a fan, and they play music. I don't know how to describe it, but they play like just digital type of music that never has any ebbs and flows. It just kind of continues like at the same frequency, and it feels so good to have that on when I'm writing, because it kind of gets you into the mindset of writing and keeps you there. So I can use that very well. I use that. Other than that, I feel like the hardest part is starting. For the day you wanna just get started and to have that motivation to get there. I don't know. I think one trick that I learned years ago was, if you have that problem of starting every day, the day before you should finish your writing session at a place where you're going to continue, how you're going to continue the next day. Mm-hmm. So like at a cliffhanger, or at like a moment, where they're about to figure out who the culprit is or something like that, so that you don't have to force yourself to get back into the story. You already know where it is. So tricks like that have been helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard of that, and it is very smart to approach your sessions tactically, because sometimes I think everybody has, you turn to it and you're like, what do I do here? So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's a great habit to have. And the song on repeat, and I know you said you don't do that anymore, but you had to do that specifically for that one time. I feel like for each book, sometimes our routines can slightly change. I've only listened to a song on repeat when I'm doing a certain scene, or whenever I'm trying to touch a certain emotion.
Absolutely, I get it.
But I love that you were talking about a Brain FM. It made me think of like frequencies,
Yes.
like there's this, I listen to Spotify, but there's these certain playlists or whatever that are just like these frequencies, and I've been meaning to try it out to see if like how that does, because it is very sensory, right? The same way ASMR is, I
Yeah.
guess.
I recommend it. It might work. It's been incredibly helpful for me, um, especially if I'm at a place in my writing where I know I have to address significant revisions or rewrites, and that can feel overwhelming sometimes. So, um, uh, turning that on has really helped alleviate any sort of hesitation that I might have before I start. Another recommendation I have, I usually draft in Word, but when I revise, I only use Scrivener, and I know people love it or they hate it. Um, for me, it's helpful because I can break up the book into chapters, and then it doesn't feel like such a big mountain to climb. So that's been another trick that I've been using, so that it's like, okay, I have to address 2,000 words here. That's it. I can do that. Um, and it's been helpful.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
So let's talk about your next book. What can we expect from you in the future? I know that what it's called, The Dazzling Magic of a Petit Four, correct?
Yeah, so that's it's an adult romantic fantasy. It's coming out on August 25th, and it's about a 20-something witch named Serena, and she is a baker. She bakes charmed magical cakes that will give people, they'll see a rainbow that day, or they'll find their favorite animal. They'll read a book that changes their life if they eat the cake. Um, Very cozy. And she has a black cat familiar, and the two need to go to Paris to search for a secret mausoleum. And the world is the 1920s. It's set in the real world, but with some differences. So the world is currently unkind to the practice of witchcraft, so she has to lie low in a glamored flower shop, and there she meets a mysterious and handsome man with a secret of his own. It's very much in the vibe of Practical Magic, The Great Gatsby, Chocolat. It's been a lot of fun to work on. It's where City of Lights and Skulls is a little darker and spooky. This is it is slightly dark in parts, but it's just been so much fun. It's a little lighter.
It sounds like fun. I am really eager
Thank
to
you.
read that. It makes me think of, and I was talking about this on a recent podcast with my audiobook narrator, and we were talking about who we would want to trade places with in a book, and I had mentioned this book. It's called A Sip of Magic by Kate Swansea, and I feel like your book is adjacent to that in a way, and so if anybody is a fan of A Sip of Magic, I think they would love your book as well. And if you haven't read it, you
Thank
should
you.
go read it. And that is one of those books that, like you said, yours has darkness in it, but it also is a feel-good book. And I reach for those, when I just need to
Good.
feel good.
Yeah, I love that. No, I haven't read this book, so I just wrote it down. I'm gonna look into it.
Yeah. So, you said it comes out on August 25th, right?
August 25th this year, so a few months to go.
All right. And then where's that going to be available?
So that'll be available on my website, but also it'll be available it's available for pre-order now, anywhere you buy your books. Definitely look into your indie bookstore, your favorite indie, to see if they'll have it online. They might have it in stock as well.
Perfect. All right. So, this is a question that I ask everybody. What is something that is bringing you joy right now?
I love this. So with my new book coming out, Serena is a baker, and I have been exploring baking. I've been a baker for a long time, but I've been exploring different types of cake baking. So that's been something that has been bringing me a lot of joy, delicious joy, different cakes. Um, I just did a chocolate olive oil cake the other day, which was really good. I did an opera cake a few months ago. I did, what was it? Oh, it was a pear vanilla cake. It was really nice. So baking has been bringing me a lot of joy lately. And it's just, especially if I'm working on a project or if I need a break from something, just going into the kitchen and, quietly thinking about any sort of plot holes I need to fill or any ideas that I want to, consider adding to this project or the next one. It just helps me, think about that and focus a bit while also creating something for other people. So that's been bringing me a lot of joy. I love baking cakes.
I love that. It sounds like for me, I go out in nature, but like baking,
Oh, I
it
love
sounds
that.
like your nature. It's like your brain reset where you can just relax and not really have to think so much. It's just more about the action and letting your mind go to a fun, creative place.
That's exactly how it feels. Exactly like that. It's nature is also great. We live in Los Angeles, so we're very fortunate to have, the ocean nearby and some great hiking trails in the area, which has been really, really good at, that emotional reset, as you said. But yeah, baking is good, and it's almost summer now, so it's almost time to start with like pies. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and plus you get a treat at the end of it. So I mean, I might
Sure
have to
do.
start picking that up.
Yeah. It's always so much fun, and you have something that you made yourself, and you can be proud of, and learn from, and improve next time if you need to, and it's great.
So, where can people find you and your books? I know that you said that they can go on your website and they can find your books
Hmm.
there. They can find it in Indie. So, where is your social media accounts? Where are you most active? Where should people go?
Yeah, so I'm on Threads and Instagram. Underscore Kathryn Rose underscore is where you can find me. And my website is kathrynrosewrites.com. And you can learn more about me and the books that I've written already and the ones that are coming up. And yeah, I'm usually on those two the most. I like Threads. I like Instagram. So looking forward to meeting other people there and hearing about all the great books that they're working on and reading as well.
Yeah, Threads is a really fun place. I feel like it's more
It's
of an
great.
authentic connection where you can like talk to,
Yeah.
your favorite
Hmm.
authors or like anybody. It's very just like straight to the
Yeah.
point. No falsities.
No, I agree with you. It's wonderful. It's the people there have been so kind and they very thoughtful and not just about writing and books and these sorts of things, but everyday things and important issues that are going on in the world. You can learn from other people that way, which I really appreciate. And I've met so many wonderful people through Threads, and I love talking to people. I'm always reachable. It's a wonderful place. I'm always on there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for chatting and for joining. And
Thank you.
yeah, of course. Thanks so much for listening. If you would like to keep up with Kathryn or check out any of her books, you can follow the links in the show notes. And just a reminder, her newest book, The Dazzling Magic of Petit Four, releases August 25th, 2026, and is currently available for pre order.